Welcome to How We Heard It, the podcast about music, pop culture, movies, and more, with your hosts Wayne Bledsoe and Chuck Campbell.
Welcome to How We Heard It. This is Chuck Campbell with
Wayne Bledsoe.
All right, Wayne, do you want to explain what our topic is this week? It's a great topic, but it may need a little bit of... I can't articulate it as well as you can.
Well, this is, if someone doesn't like a certain artist, you know you're probably not going to like that some certain person.
Right. So, in other words, if I said, hey, Wayne, I love Shakira, and Wayne said, I hate Shakira, would that be...
You'd never hear that.
Right. I know I'd never hear that, but that would be like...
Yeah, that you would not like. You would
Right.
think there's
It
something
says-
wrong with Wayne.
Right. It says more about Wayne than it does about Shakira if Wayne doesn't like
Exactly.
it. All right. That
Exactly.
sounds good.
And that's one of those things is like when you're like if you're dating somebody, you first meet somebody and they say something that I don't like that person, you're going to go, oh yeah, well, I'm probably not going to like you.
Do you want me to?
Go right ahead.
I don't know how you did this. We don't really consult with each other before these. so it's always a little bit of a surprise what we say. But I needed to thin down my options because there are a lot of acts I feel strongly about. So
Right.
I put a few stipulations on mine. The first is the act needs to have a robust catalog to give them a well-rounded picture of their capabilities.
Right.
Going hand in hand with that, I also like those that have a long career, like 15 or 20 years, so they've had time to prove their durability. So, I might like Post Malone or Billie Eilish, but, anything can happen with them over the
Right.
years. And then finally, for me, I wanted those whose acts, their careers are over. So because people can fall from grace every day. They can put out one bad album or something like that and change your feeling on them, or they can say something stupid or get arrested for killing puppies or, whatever. And then it's fair to hate them again.
Right.
So everyone from like Rolling Stones to ABBA to Dolly Parton, they're all technically still active. So I ruled out anybody like that. Everybody.
Well, I didn't. But
Okay, that's fine.
But only
Yeah.
one of them is still active.
Okay. Well, none of mine are. So,
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to start with probably the most obvious one, and maybe one that
It's probably this. We're probably on the same one.
I think
as
we're
walking
talking
in
about
today.
The Beatles.
That's actually my second one. But yes, the Beatles are there.
Okay. Well, the Beatles. That was so obvious to me that I almost hate using one of mine on the Beatles.
Right.
But it's like I've always respected them, even before I really was aware of music or anything. But they're just. There was never a more magical combination, I think, for a band, or rarely, and between McCartney and Lennon, just like two of the absolute best songwriters and singers, and they evolved and evolved and evolved, and they changed. And of course, George and Ringo were in there too, and they were writing songs as well. And everything from like really sentimental songs to very pointed, more political songs, and they just really set the prototype for pop and rock over the last 60 years,
To me, they're the Bible. They are the Bible of music, or modern music.
Right. And I just, I've never even though I've liked so many bands more than the Beatles, I've never thought of even challenging them being the top band. That if you hate all four Beatles and all of their years and years of songs, you can't like a single song, then there's just something wrong going on with you.
What's wrong is you're trying to be too cool.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like there's so many people right now, especially young people. It's like, oh, they're just they're too hip for the Beatles, and it's like the Beatles are just like you said, the kind of the wellspring where everything comes from.
Right.
And people who are young don't realize that every time the Beatles had a new release, everything after changed.
Exactly, it did, and just I think people maybe just aren't familiar with them, and they don't appreciate. I mean, I just don't know how you can listen to those melodies, though, and I don't know how you can listen
the melodies and harmonies.
Oh my God, I know. It's just like I'm always impressed. I can always change my mood by listening to a Beatles song, and like I say, I don't really relate to that. They're not the first band I pull out whenever I want to hear something, but when I hear a Beatles song, especially one of the better ones, I'm more favored toward Paul McCartney, which probably wouldn't surprise you, but
and I'm a little bit more favored toward Lennon.
I figured, yeah, but they're both great. They're both great, and they both had great songs. So
And so did George. And I mean,
so did George. And I mean,
Ringo sang some
wasn't.
great songs.
Yeah, Ringo was all right. I mean, you got to have someone like that in the
well, I mean, Ringo introduced me to classic pop music with his first solo album, Sentimental Journey, which never gets any love, and it's like it introduced me to my favorite song of all time, Stardust.
Well, with a little help from my friends, that was a Ringo song.
He sang it. He didn't write it.
All right.
He didn't. He only wrote a few songs.
he
Octopus's
sang it.
Garden and Don't Pass Me By.
Right.
And a couple things like that.
Well, Ringo was Ringo, but I mean, I think he was still good for the chemistry of the whole group, and it would have been different without him. So.
But that's the thing is people are so, they've got to be so hip and diss on the biggest name out there, and if you're doing that, you're just a phony because you're not recognizing how important this group is and how much they influenced whoever the hell it is you're listening to.
Right.
I don't care what it is, they're influenced by the Beatles' work.
Right. You're just trying to be, like you said, just trying to be too cool for the Beatles. And it's like, you can be, I mean, like I say, maybe you don't like that early Beatles stuff. That's okay, but just the entire catalog just is amazing. So to just dismiss it all again, it says more about you than it does about the group.
And the people who think that the early stuff is simple need to try to play it because of all the musicians I've talked to, they talk about, when they try to play a Beatles song, it's way more complicated to try to play it than they think it is.
Right.
When my son was learning the song Blackbird by McCartney.
Right.
And was trying to play it on guitar, it's like, this is not an easy song to play. It sounds like it, but it's not.
And it was civil rights related, you know. It's like they weren't just, I want to hold your hand or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with just wanting to hold your hand either.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm always impressed when I go back, and it's always been enduring. And I feel sorry for if you can't appreciate it at all.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same, which is a rare thing that we both agree on.
Yeah.
Totally. And the second one we may agree on too. Now this one is, if you don't like her music, okay, I understand. If you don't like her voice, I understand. But if you don't like her as a person, then I don't understand you at all. And that's Dolly.
Right.
I mean, she's basically a saint, but she takes no shit.
Right. I agree 100%. I had to rule her out.
You ruled her out because she's still
I came up
working.
with excuses to rule people out because, well, maybe Dolly will screw up and accidentally, do something terrible. It's not going to happen, but as long as she's active, I had an excuse not to use it. But you're right. I know people, they don't necessarily appreciate her voice. They may think some of the songs are a little, not really cringe, but a little hokey or whatever, and that's fine. But as a person, I mean, she doesn't get better. I mean, no one gets better than that because she's at the philanthropist. She cares about everybody. She's a unifier. She's a good soul. I mean, yeah. And a great songwriter.
And she is that, and that's part of it is whether you appreciate how good her songs are or not. It's undeniable that she's a great songwriter.
Right.
And I get it if you don't like that kind of song, even though she's written a whole lot of different types, but she's a great songwriter and she's a great person. And like I said, she also takes no shit, which is another thing that I particularly appreciate about her.
Right. And that's actually something that the Beyonce did remake Jolene. And in a way, you could resist that because Beyonce turned it around to a threatening Jolene, and for Dolly, the part of the beauty of the song is she's so helpless and she's just throwing herself at the mercy of Jolene. Right. And that's what's so heartbreaking about it. This other woman can just do whatever she wants. And so she's just saying, please don't. And then Beyonce comes in with, you better not mess with my man, and Dolly defended that and said that's great, and she actually loves that perspective. Yeah. And that's just such a Dolly thing to do, to say, what she did is great, very, beautiful perspective, and she, I forget how she said this, boy, she wasn't going to let Jolene get away with anything. You know?
Well, I'll tell you something. I mean, this says something else about Dolly, and it's like, how can you not love somebody who does this? I interviewed Marianne Faithfull, and Marianne Faithfull recorded Dolly's song Down from Dover. And, Marianne Faithfull is like, if you're in the know, Marianne Faithfull. She's a great artist, but she's not somebody that's selling millions of albums.
Yeah.
But she recorded that song, and Dolly sent her a thank you note for singing that song, recording that song.
Right.
And it's like, who else does that?
Nobody. I
Right.
don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, how can you not love something like that?
Exactly. Totally agree.
So
Well, you want me to plunge on then?
plunge on.
So I'm kind of following a timeline here of who picked up the ball more or less from the Beatles, and that for me that's Fleetwood Mac, because again you've got these amazing songwriters with very different perspectives and viewpoints, Christine McVie and Stevie Nicks, Lindsey Buckingham, and it's just put into this intoxicating, shifting sonic brew. I had to write that down and make sure I read it. But yeah, and just the variety of the songs. You go through all of their hits, and I wrote them all down here, but I don't have to do through that. You can't hate every song that they've done. You know, you might not like Stevie Nicks, maybe a little too ethereal for you, or
I like Christine McVie better.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And a lot of people do, and that's totally valid. You know, and maybe she's a little too, I don't want to say yacht rock because she's better than that, but you know, that kind of mellow adult contemporary kind of vibe that she has. And then, you know, Lindsay's just out there, you know, but they all dovetail together, and I put them down here because not just because Christine died, but because Stevie Nicks said the band can't go on. There's no reason to do any more Fleetwood Mac. So she kind of, if both of them are out, then whatever comes along, it won't be Fleetwood Mac anymore without them.
Well, it certainly won't be the old Fleetwood. I mean, that Fleetwood Mac. I mean,
right.
One of the cool things about Fleetwood Mac is you have these different phases of Fleetwood Mac.
Yep, they had an early phase without the Americans.
And Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac, where he was the great guitar player, and you know he's the guy behind the song "Oh Well" and the Green Monalishi and things like that. I mean, I like that era as much maybe as I like the Stevie Nicks, Lindsey Buckingham era, but you know, as much as and always, you know, when you're trying to be like when I was a teenager and they were a big deal,
right?
It was like I really wanted to not like them. I really did because I wanted to be a snob. I wanted to say, "Oh, I'm just too cool for this." And then when you realize how stupid that is because they're so damn good.
Right. Did you ever feel that way toward the Beatles that you wanted to?
Never.
You just couldn't.
Well, I mean, the first memory I have just about is watching the Beatles and Ed Sullivan when I was 4 years old.
Right.
So the Beatles were always like gods. So
right.
I'd never felt that way about the Beatles. But you know, anything. I mean, what we talked about Leonard Skinner last week, I think, and it's like I really wanted to not like Leonard Skinner, but it's like Ronnie Van Zant, great songwriter.
Right. Same
thing with Fleetwood Mac. I mean, you know, you can like different elements of Fleetwood Mac less than others, and you change sometimes because initially you're drawn to Stevie Nicks' voice,
right?
And then you start listening and thinking, or I did anyway. It's like, you know, I kind of like Christine McVie's voice better because she's such a pure singer, no vibrato, just hits the note, and she's so good. And then you start listening and thinking, well, Lindsey Buckingham is really the powerhouse behind all this stuff, because he's such a good, you know, melodic songwriter, and he's such a badass guitar player. So
I like that, you know, they had, later on when it was this lineup, they had hit after hit after hit, and everyone was different from the one before it, and it just always sounded a little more classy than everything else you were hearing. Everything sounded more elevated and mature, but also, I mean, you know, Stevie Nicks is a weird lady.
Well, she's weird, but like I said, I like Christine McVie better, but it's like if you just had you just have Stevie Nicks, you've got a total powerhouse.
Right. I mean, Stevie Nicks' solo is great, you know, but it was just like those came together, and it did remind me of the Beatles and just having a really exceptional, unique team working together and just producing such diversity between them. And, you know, I don't understand anyone who could possibly hate them.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story here.
Okay.
When I interviewed Mick Fleetwood, we were talking about, you know, their entire career, and he started talking about, you know, Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks coming in the band, and I said, you know, I thought it was great, but I said, you know, my favorite album, Fleetwood Mac album, is Tusk, because it's just so out there and it's just got everything in it. And he goes, well, you know, over the years, I've kind of decided I think that was the best one too. And then a few months later, I interviewed Lindsey Buckingham for his solo show when he came through. And I told him that story, and he goes, he's never told me that. Because that was like, Lindsey Buckingham just like taking the reins and going crazy.
Lindsey always had a little bit of an ego, maybe.
I think he's got a whole lot of an ego, not just a little bit.
I was being polite, but yeah, I mean, so I could see why you'd kind of hold back from flattering him too much.
Yeah, but it was so funny because it was like, I mean, there's so many times you tell somebody what somebody else has told you in the band, and they go, yeah, well, I hadn't heard that. But you could tell he was pissed off because with Tusk, it was commercially, weirdly, a disappointment, even though it was a huge hit.
Right.
But it wasn't as big a seller as Rumors was.
Right.
Or the
the bottom
Mac
line.
album.
But
Yeah.
I mean, but think about that, the title track.
It's crazy. It's great.
And it was on the radio, and it's like, is this a song? Is it going to start or is it finishing? I mean, But then you just listen to it, and it's like tribal rhythm and everything. And it just pulls you in, and you're
it's terrific.
You're mesmerized by it. Yeah.
All right, now mine is sort of it's. I have my next one is Fleetwood Mac adjacent, sort of.
Okay.
And this is the thing about this person is he's not in my top 20 artists that I listen to the most. He's probably in the top 40, but he is just so good and such a great songwriter and so just America that I don't see how you cannot like him, and that's Tom Petty.
Oh, okay.
Tom Petty he is so solid. He's not in your face like, Bruce Springsteen can be, even though I like Bruce Springsteen. I mean, I like all these people. But with Tom Petty, it's like, what's not to like?
Right.
When Free Fallin' comes on the radio, how do you not turn that up?
Right.
Into the Great Wide Open. I mean, he's telling a story that's just like you're getting into it. That, right. I mean, it's everything I don't know of anything he did that was not good.
Right.
And even though he's not the one I pull out all the time and listen to, anytime he comes on the radio, anytime he comes on the flash drive I have in my car, I always turn it up because it's like, it's great.
Right.
And if somebody didn't like that, somebody said, I hate Tom Petty, I would go, I got to go somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, I always ask people to explain themselves. If I said, "Well, I'm not the biggest Tom Petty fan," and you said, "What, you don't like him?" I'd have to say, "Well, no, I can't say that. I can't think of anything I don't like about him."
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, I think Dave Grohl kind of dissed Bruce Springsteen.
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't
who's
know
not
that.
my boss?
I thought about
like
Foo
that.
Fighters actually at one point, and I thought, I'm going to rule them out because they're still alive and going.
Yeah. But I mean, people, and I think I can't remember who Michael Stipe. He may have dissed the Beatles. He's dissed some people.
Michael Stipe would diss anybody.
Yeah, I know. But it's like people say things like that. It's like, yeah, come on.
Yeah, it just makes you look bad.
Yeah, you're just trying to sound hipper than you are.
Right.
I don't care who you are.
Right. Well, if Megan Thee Stallion disses you, you just better get in line. I'll just tell you that. So you might want to care who she is if she comes for you. But yeah, Dave Grohl, forget it.
But the funny thing is like my favorite artists like the Kinks and Tom Waits and Leonard Cohen and Bob Dylan, people like that. I understand if people don't get it.
Yep.
And it's like, my girlfriend, she didn't really know much about the Kinks, and I played her some Kinks songs that she did like, even though, I mean, mostly she knew You Really Got Me and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But once I played her that, she got it. Right. And I'm lucky that she probably didn't know that I didn't like U2 very much when we got together.
Yeah. That could be a wrinkle.
But I understand if people don't like things like that. But it's somebody like Tom Petty and Fleetwood Mac. I agree with you. If you hate them, if you just don't like them, I'm not going to understand you as a person.
Right. And that's what I'm saying about like a lot of people who are active now, and they're really wonderful, they're talented, they're great people. But until your career is over, I'm going to hold judgment on that. But I don't know. I've got one more here.
You got a fourth,
and then I've got another one that's a little. I break my own stipulations for, but it's something that makes me even madder, and it's even harder for me to explain.
Oh, good. I want to see you mad.
Yeah. Oh, I get mad on this one, but not on Prince. Prince. I think is yet another one that if you hate him, now I understand he can be too sexual for some people. He might be too dance oriented for some people, last week though we were talking about overrated artists, and we were talking about how you could never overrate Prince because he was everything. He was a master songwriter, arranger, musician, singer. He lifted so many other artists in the 80s, especially a lot of women artists. And, you can not care for his tone. And he created this whole alternate world, that was his environment and all of his adjacent artists. And it was just something else. And anytime a song of his came on, and it's all kinds of music too. It wasn't just, there are the sex songs, but he could do, he did Purple Rain, and it started, I guess, with the Controversy, which was not many people remember that one, but that was the first introduction to him, and all it was an enigma. It's like, well, who is this guy?
Well, in Dirty Mind, he had Uptown was on Dirty Mind, and he did that on Saturday Night Live, and was, wearing an outfit that I was like, oh Jesus! It was like leg warmers, and I can't remember what all. He was wearing like some kind of black panties or something.
Well, yeah,
he was. It was like you watch it like I can't believe this, and it was great.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, no matter what you think of his music personally, if it doesn't personally fit, you can't deny his superiority. I can't hear someone say, well, he wasn't a good musician, or I didn't like his lyrics, or anything like that. You can't say that about him because he was very deep and philosophical. There was one song. This is kind of a good and bad thing on Prince, but it's from what was it, Under the Cherry Moon? Mm-hmm. Sometimes It Snows in April. Mm-hmm. That song just like so touching and moving, and then I realized, oh wait, he wrote it about his character. It was a eulogy for his own character. Like, okay, well that's I'm not going to cry then, but it was still just such a moving, deep song. I don't even know if that one was a single.
Well, it's interesting the way people write songs. I think they put themselves into it so much that it doesn't matter. One of the times I interviewed Randy Newman, he's got a song called "Feels Like Home" that people use in a lot of weddings now. And in fact, my daughter used it in her wedding. It's a beautiful song. He wrote it for his musical Faust.
Okay.
And it's about I think it's Rosalind is her name, but she's tempting Satan with it.
Okay. So that's an interesting wedding song.
Yeah, and when I interviewed him, one of the times I interviewed Randy, and we talked about it, I said, well, it's so funny to me that people are using that in weddings, and it's such a sweet song, and you wrote it about a woman. There's a woman that's tempting Satan, and he goes, sometimes even I forget it.
Right. Yeah, well, most artists, they give you leeway to interpret a song however you want, and it's effective whether you got it right or wrong, as long as it's effective for you.
Yeah, well, the song "Wonderful Tonight" that Eric Clapton wrote, that was at a time that his wife was like really mad at him. They were fighting when he wrote that song. Right. It's like, well, you can't tell it from that song. That song just sounds like this appreciation of how much, he loves this woman. It's like, no, bitch,
was it sarcastic? Or
no, it wasn't sarcastic, but I think it was
apologizing. Or
I think it was just one of those things where he's inspired to maybe look at what he does love. But I think it's true that they were arguing when he wrote that song. So you never know,
right? All right, I'm going to launch into this now.
All right, go ahead.
So you can tell me you hate the Beatles. You can tell me you hate Fleetwood Mac. You can tell me you hate Prince. But if you tell me you hate all women singers, I lose my mind. And there are some people out there who hate women singers, like, period. A whole gender.
I know.
Dismissed. No matter.
Crazy.
You can say, well, I don't like Mariah Carey or Adele because, they ring every note when they sing, or Taylor Swift and Beyonce are just in the news all the time. I'm just sick of them, or whatever. But when you just say, I don't listen to women singers, I hate women singers, it's like, I lose my mind.
And most of the time, it's women who do that.
Well, I know. I was going to say that for men, it's kind of like this old machismo thing. And, back in the day, men wouldn't, deign to listen to women's songs, that somehow they were inferior or too mushy. And it's like, there's no one type of woman singer. There are just as many women singers and diversity as there are male singers, and they can be romantic, but they can be nihilistic, they can be punk, they can be, you know, sarcastic, they can be goofy, they can be philosophical, everything that men do, women can do too. And their voices are all ranging from, you know, yeah, some of them are really high and some of them are really
and then
low.
you got Joan Armatrading, and you know,
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
It's like,
I mean, they come in
I can't hit those low notes.
like a freight train. Yeah. And so
Tracy Chapman.
Tracy Chapman, yeah, she's got a big, but so it flies all over me. And when I hear men say it, you know, I think it's at best, you know, I've heard some men try to explain it's like, well, I can't really see things from a woman's perspective. So that's just narcissistic. It's like, you know, women and men feel the same way about things. Not everything. There are differences. But if you can't just even allow yourself to hear a woman and think you agree with her, then that's that. And plus, the men don't agree with you. The male singers also aren't seeing necessarily from your perspective.
Well, what's really cool to me is when a singer takes a song by the artist of the other gender and does it.
Yeah.
And then it's like it puts it in a totally different realm.
Right.
You know, Con Hunley, who lives here, a friend of mine, he's got a version of Etta James' song "At Last,"
Right.
and it's like you never want to hear anybody else. I mean, if you hear that song, it's like the only person who can sing that is Etta James.
Right.
But he's a great singer, and when you hear a guy sing it who's a great singer,
Right.
it's
Different.
yeah, you're not like wishing it was Etta James. You're just appreciating it.
Right.
And there's, you know, when women have sung songs that are typically done by men, I can't think of one right now, but it's like that makes a difference. And
Right.
I love hearing that.
Right.
You know, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, nearly all their hits are written by women.
Well, a spin on that. One of my favorite, I believe his name is Nathaniel Rateliff.
Yeah.
He does Santa Baby straight up.
Uh-huh.
And I just, at first I thought, is this for real? Is this a joke? And just listen to the whole thing. It's like, that's awesome.
Well, have you ever heard Lyle Lovett sing Stand By Your Man?
No.
It's great. It's terrific.
Right. Well, anyway, so the men who say they can't put themselves in a woman's position, you know, blah, 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 blah. Like I say, that's just narcissism, which isn't the worst thing. I mean, it's also most likely some misogyny in there, either latent or blatant misogyny, which is horrible. And it's like, you know, get your head on straight, open. You don't have to listen to men and women half and half, but when you totally dismiss women, it's like that's just something wrong going on there.
Okay, well, I've got a great example of the opposite of what we're talking about, or just a woman covering a man's song. Listen to Aretha Franklin cover "Respect" by Otis Redding.
Yeah,
and makes it
she owns that
1,000 times better. I mean, I
Yeah.
love Otis Redding, but her version is 1,000 times better than what he had.
Yeah, with just the power, and it does, you know, the gender does kind of affect that. You know, I mean, because when you have a woman demanding respect, especially back then.
Yeah,
you know,
1968.
It was much more on fire.
Or 67, I think, 67 actually.
But you also brought up, and this is even more hard for me to understand, is women who won't listen to women singers. And I've never gotten any kind of rational reason for that. Usually it's been anyone who will like engage with me on that conversation. A woman, when I say, why don't you listen to anyone of your own gender, you know, they just say, I don't know, or they can explain it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to presume, you know, to know what's going on in their head there, but I just feel like there's something missing there that you can't even listen to anybody at all in your own gender sing music.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. I mean, I can imagine, you know, what would it be like if we only listened to female singers?
Well, and you know, that's the thing. I can't remember anyone saying they don't listen to male singers.
Yeah.
That they hate male singers. They never listen to any male singer. I mean, I've known some of the most feminist lesbians in the world, and they still listen to, you know, James Taylor or something.
Right.
I mean, so I've never heard, and there are probably some people out there who won't listen to men singers, but I don't even know how to begin to address that either. But it just when you pull a gender out and just dismiss them entirely, that just flies all over me. It really does. I mean,
well, of course
it does change how I feel about you. I know some people who've said that to me, and it did forever change how I feel about them.
Let me just say this: the only people who've ever said that I've heard say that are people I never want to see again. And it's, you mean not because of that, but
right?
But yeah, they're jerks.
Right. Yeah, that sounds fair.
Yeah. So there you go. But I didn't realize it's what you're going to pull out. But that
Well,
does.
it's like, I was going through the whole thing. It's like, well, I want 3 artists. Like, oh, well, I'm talking about 3 genuinely agreed upon fantastic acts.
Right.
And I could defend them. But then the thing that makes me mad when people say they hate something, and I respect people for not liking something, for not listening to. And if you told me, someone I like Kate Bush, I really respect Kate Bush. I think she's great. But you say, oh, she's too weird and her voice is too high. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Well, we get along.
Yeah, and we talked about Madonna. You say, oh, I just don't like her. It's like, okay, fair.
But there are songs by each of those artists that I like. Okay,
Right.
even though, I mean, with Kate Bush, and it's like a little bit like Dolly. She has a timbre to her voice that gets in my ear, and it's like, I don't think I can handle any more of this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing with, I ruled ABBA out because they're still alive and everything. And they
Right.
did an album a couple of years ago that's nominated for Best Album. Those 2 women are incredible singers, and then they dovetail and they sing everything in exclamation points, so
Right.
it's a lot. It's like an assault, but so if that's too much for you, then, I understand that.
Yeah, well, it's like with me with Tom Waits. I mean, one of the greatest songwriters who's ever lived and one of the most distinctive singers of all time. He has a voice that sounds like an old drunk in an alleyway. And,
do we even want to talk about Bob Dylan?
Well,
Because I can't take that. It's
Well,
like I love other people doing his songs.
I have so many close friends who can't get into Bob Dylan, and I love his voice. I even love him singing, old standards.
Right.
But it took a while. It takes and this is a totally different subject that we should get on sometime. It's just the way things are now. You don't have time to get used to somebody's voice or their style or whatever.
Right.
And I understand you don't have time.
Right.
No.
Yeah, when people say, I'm sure you've experienced the same thing when you're reviewing. You listen to it, and everyone says, oh, you need to listen to it 5 or 6 times. It's like, well, sure. If you listen to anything to the point you're that familiar with it, it's going to ingrain in you. And unless you just absolutely hate it, you'll start to like it. I mean, it's just repetition.
Somewhat, but I think also when you start to, it's like watching a Stanley Kubrick movie. The first time I see a Kubrick movie, I'm like, yeah, this kind of leaves me cold.
Right.
The Shining. First time I saw The Shining, I thought, yeah, he's
Oh,
already
really?
crazy.
Right.
And then the next time I saw it, it's like, oh, this is scary. And the third time I saw it, it's like, oh, I love this. And that's one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time.
Right. What you pick up on the nuances.
Exactly, and that's the same thing with a Bob Dylan or a Tom Waits or somebody like that that has a rough voice, or a Marianne Faithfull, I said earlier. I mean, at first it's hard to listen to people who sound like they gargle, glass shards and gasoline.
Right.
And then you start noticing, well, no, they have a rough instrument, but they've got a great voice.
Right.
They're great singers.
Well, for me, for over 30 years, I reviewed 3 albums a week.
Yeah.
So when someone says you need to listen to that album 6 or 7 times, like, piss off. I've got to write it. I've got to write this today. It's got to be done by 2:00, But I would try to allow for it. As I got older and could recognize things, I could see, I could better dig into the details with just a couple of listens. But, anyway, you were talking about movies.
Yeah, we both saw a movie last week.
Yeah, so we're going to shift
Not together.
over.
We were separate.
We were separate, but this is the how we saw it version of or segment of how we heard it, and we both. You want to kick off here?
Well, it's Late Night with the Devil, and it's one of those movies that's got a good buzz. People are loving it, and you go into it and you think, well, I'm not sure I'm going to like this, because it purports to be rediscovering a 1970s late night show where things go horribly wrong.
Right, and they set it up. They had like kind of a mini documentary introducing, who this late night show host was. His show was in New York, and he was desperately competing with Johnny Carson, the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, which in the 70s, that was everything.
And starts in 1971. He started in 71 and goes to 77. We're in 77 when the movie starts.
And that actor, he did such a great job of kind of taking Carsonisms, you know. I think one of my favorite things, he was talking about baseball, and Johnny Carson used to always swing a golf club at the end of the segment, and he was swinging a baseball bat, and he was kind of like, he really got Johnny Carson down
in the 70s. It feels very much like the 70s,
right? Yeah. The set looked a little more like Match Game maybe than Tonight Show, but it was very, very authentic feeling, and all the people, the costuming was great, and the attitudes. I loved Gus. He was like the Ed McMahon of his show. He was like the one pure character, because everybody, you weren't really sure where anybody was coming from. There was just this dread hanging over it, and you knew something was really wrong going on with
and
it.
It's a slow burn. That was one of the things. It's like it takes a while to get there.
And you're like the audience was great, because the audience was just happy and cheering everything, and they were like playing to them. But I love the little behind the scenes footage that they would do during commercial breaks, and characters would reveal themselves a little more and just make it even more peculiar and unnerving.
And to explain what the whole basis is, this is a Halloween show, and they have the supernatural guests on, and they have a woman who's been a therapist to a girl who's been rescued from this satanic cult.
Right.
And the girl and the therapist are going to be on. But before they come on, they have a character who's a debunker, who's based on the Amazing Randy, who was not nearly so snotty and swarmy, even though he was snotty. And there's a great documentary on him called An Honest Liar, I think is the name of it. If you've not seen it, you need to see it. It's a great documentary, because he debunked all these people, and that's who that's who the debunker is based on.
Well, they actually started, the very first guest was the psychic.
That's right.
And he came out, and he was like reading the audience, and you were thinking, automatically you're going to be skeptical too. And he was kind of misfiring, saying, "Hey, I know, you know someone with the name Donald," and they're like, "No." So he kept going around and asking questions, and then he keyed in on something, and he took that and ran with it. Then they brought out the debunker, who said, "That's just how these charlatans do it."
And the Amazing Randy, that's one of the biggest debunking things he did, was he debunked a guy who came out there and realized that he had a little microphone in his ear, and they did the classic thing where they go and talk to the audience. Mm-hmm. They have somebody out there in the audience that's not recognized as official with anybody, listening for people.
Right, and they slid a little of that out there.
Mm-hmm. They did.
The two women that he was talking to, they said, "Well, yeah, we talked to people before the show."
Yeah,
but it just left you thinking, well, is that what they told them? Did they?
Right.
And then, of course, I don't want to give anything away, but the psychic story kind of goes off the wall, and they keep running with the show. And that's when the woman with the girl comes in.
Right.
That girl.
Oh, she's a great actress. I loved her.
She was like completely disjointed from everybody. She was just smiling, and just eerie, and she was just sitting there, and the others were getting kind of tense with each other, and the debunker was in there like, poo-pooing it all, and then the host was trying to keep it all together, and the woman, the psychic, or I guess she was a counselor or a psychiatrist for the girl, she was trying to hold it together. But then again, those in-between commercial breaks where they're talking to each other, they would say things, and you would think, well, what's going on here?
Well, there's more and they make a reference to the Grove, which is a real thing.
Right.
Like it's basically a kind of a Boy Scout camp for the rich and powerful.
Right.
And there's all sorts of mystery about that, and that has a little element in there. In fact, that was one of the things I thought while I was watching. It's like, you could make a great horror movie just based on the Grove.
Right.
And making up all, speculating what might happen there.
Right. And that was one of the key points. And of course, his wife, the host's wife, had died a few years before, and they had a little bit of that in the setup documentary before they revealed the found footage.
And the setup documentary takes up like the first 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, it's quick. I appreciate that. It's like they're not going to dwell on it. There's like boom, 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 and he's never going to catch Carson. And that was the whole point of this show, was they wanted to do something just big and spectacular to catch Carson. And everybody had an ulterior motive, I think, except Gus. It's like Gus was like just a nice guy and kept the audience into it. And then when he saw things were going askew, he was trying to stop it, and make them stop doing what they were doing. And I really like Gus. And of course, the the director, he was a little heavy-handed, but the guy smoking the cigarettes and talking to the host, that he was just like, man, we got to do whatever we got to do. We got to get these ratings, and he's just doing that kind of shtick. And then the host, I think he was probably the most enigmatic of them all because he would just get these looks on his face. I wish I could remember his name. I should have written that down somewhere. But something I want to say about this movie, and this is about movie going in general, is so often when we go to a movie, we just automatically default into trying to predict what's going to happen, trying to predict what's going to happen with the characters. That's fine for a whodunit, but just about anything you see, rom-com or action movie or superhero movie or whatever, you're thinking, I bet he's going to die in the end, or I bet those two are going to get together. And people, and I do it myself, and I try not to, because you spin your wheels just trying to map out the puzzle. Sometimes the director's not asking you to sit there and do the work and solve things. And I would tell people, don't waste time trying to predict what's going to happen with this movie and where it's going to go and what's going to happen with these people, because you're not going to get it right. You might get some elements right, but you're not going to get the whole thing right. And just enjoy it. I mean, just sit there like you're in the audience. You're just one of those people in the audience watching this crazy show, and then you're seeing the things that are unsettling going on behind the scenes. Just go with it. Just don't try to solve it.
And one of the good things about it to me is that, and there's been movies that have been trying to do this more lately, is it's not just using the same old trope. It's not a haunted house movie. It's not a ghost movie. It's not a demonic possession movie necessarily.
You've not seen it
different
this way before.
Right.
Because you kind of got equal parts of what's real, are they legit, and what's this even about, and will that be a factor or not? But don't ask those questions.
Right.
Just let it hit you. Just sit there and take it.
And when we recommend a movie, I have one that's related. It's an older movie to recommend that it was just a total surprise to me. It's sort of the same thing.
Okay.
Go ahead. Well, okay. I want to recommend, go back and dig up a movie called The Last Exorcism.
Okay.
Is
that one of those the Annabelles and the?
No.
Okay.
This is totally. I mean, they did a sequel, and the sequel sucks. So you don't need to see the sequel.
Okay.
But this is one of those that looks like it's going to be terrible. It looks like it's going to be the same old thing. But this is a documentary. It looks like a documentary thing. There's a crew going with an exorcist, a hokey fake exorcist, and he's decided that he's going to give this up and let the documentary crew see how he does all the things he does to trick people on these exorcisms.
Okay.
So you're getting nearly everything that you see is from the camera. It's like Rec, or I can't remember what the American version of Rec was, but it's one of those things where it's like you're seeing what the documentary crew sees, and you're not seeing anything else.
Okay.
And it is a twisty movie it will defy your expectations. You'll get to the end of this movie and go, damn.
Did you, when did that come out?
That's been at least 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago.
Okay.
It's an older film, but it's one of those things that I just nearly passed it by because I thought, whatever.
Right.
And it's not what you're going to expect. There's a lot of those exorcism movies. There's a lot of demon possession movies.
Yep.
This one is not what you're going to expect.
All right. Well, on that line, I'm going to recommend a new one called Immaculate, and it stars Sydney Sweeney, who's in like every movie right now. I don't know what's going on.
I like
with
Sydney
her,
Sweeney,
but she's great in this, and it's Immaculate, and it's about her. She's a nun from America, and she goes to a convent in Italy to whatever they do. I'm sorry, I don't know. But to do
whatever
what
they do in there, I have no
to
idea.
Get to work as a nun, whatever. And she's got and she's like this very devout, Catholic gal, and I was tempted not to go at all because I've seen so many nun movies lately, The Nun and all that, and they all go the same direction. They all go into, this is where horror films go these days. They go into a point where you've got your main character is like trying to fight their way through a house or a building, and there are all these surreal things happening in visions and you'll see your dead mom who's now a dog or something like that, and it's got devil horns and it's chasing you, and you don't know what's real, what's not real. It's all very supernatural. And I was assuming that this might be one of those, and I was looking for it to become that. And it was a little bit more old-fashioned, but crazy how it developed. And if nothing else, and I told you this before, I didn't tell you anything else, but the end of this movie is just like crazy, mind-blowing kind of an ending that was just, I don't know how to explain it. I don't want to explain it. I don't want you to sit there and try to guess what's going to happen. But it was actually very good. It got good reviews. It deserved those reviews, and the name's immaculate. And,
I need to check it out.
Yeah, I mean, actually seeing the end of it, I thought, oh, Wayne would like this.
Sydney Sweeney is a nun. It's like I mean,
well, I know, but that's a plot point. That's a plot point because she's very attractive, and
right.
and like when she's trying to get through customs, this isn't giving anything away. She didn't really learn Italian. She was supposed to learn Italian, and she admits that she didn't.
Yeah.
And so the two customs guys were kind of talking about her, and what a waste, and blah blah blah, and saying all these things. So they use that against her that she can't speak Italian. And then at the convent, some of the there's like a mean young nun, who talks about her and says things about her. And then she befriends another one. And it's kind of, it keeps going down this path that you don't expect it to go. And then you start thinking, oh, this reminds me of good old fashioned, horror films and everything. And then it just goes somewhere where I've like never seen, maybe a couple of films. I don't want to name them because I don't want to give this one away, that just take this big detour at the very end.
So interesting. Well, it's interesting. I mean, with horror films, which we both love horror films.
Yeah.
But the ones that do something different, and then there's the ones that do the same old thing but do it so well.
Yep.
I mean, the Conjuring movies.
Yep.
They've all been good.
I like them. It's like I know where it's going. It's like, oh, she's possessed, so here come all the little tricks, and she's.
But
someone always gets thrown into a wall, or bunches of the characters they just get hurled into a wall, but
they
if
do it
it's
so
done
well
enough, it's like, okay, I'll sit and ride this ride.
Yeah, well, there's a movie, and it's an old one now called The Changeling, and it's just a haunted house movie. That's all it is.
Oh, that was it. George
C. Scott and
yes.
his wife at the time, Trish Van Devere.
Okay.
And
yes.
it's
oh
great.
Gosh, the ending of that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's like one of the best haunted house movies ever, and it uses all the same tropes that they all use. It's just right down the line, but it's great.
It just seemed more subtle or more sophisticated, I think, in the way it unveiled. It was kind of a slow burn, like you say, but
but there are the moments that scare you. Boy, they make you jump out of your seat.
Right.
But it's directed by Peter Medak, the same guy who did The Ruling Class, which is another really good, strange movie.
Well, we'll have to do movies like Halloween time. We'll have to get into some of our favorites there because we've talked about those for years and years.
Yeah, I know. We'd have to figure out what the scariest movie is. It would be hard to tell, or the strangest horror film. And there's a lot of strange.
I mean, for some, it just depends on the environment and the time. Like, I don't want to dwell on that because we can save that. But for me, like seeing the first Friday the 13th freaked me out because you'd never seen such graphic deaths in movies. And there was I was a kid in school, and a friend was telling me, "Oh my gosh!" and then this happened and that happened, and her throat slit open right in front of you and started bleeding. And I was like, "That can't be real." And I was like, "This isn't real," But and so I was just like so shocked by that, and movies, like those old movies, Phantasm and
Phantasm's
the first
fun.
Alien,
the first Alien's
oh my God.
Incredible.
Yeah, but even they continue to come up with good ones. And I appreciate that. We talked about Barbarian.
Oh yeah, Barbarian was one. That was the thing. It's like we hadn't talked to each other in maybe a year.
Yeah. I said, "Hey, you got to see this."
Call me up. You texted me or called me and said, "You got to see this movie.
You got to see this movie. Hey, stranger, hope everything's well. See Barbarian."
And we went to see it.
You said something like, "What did I just watch?"
I know. I came out and texted you as soon as I got done with it. Yeah. It was like, what the hell was this?
It was great. It was like 3 different movies stitched together into one.
And it was the thing that you had to reevaluate everything about everything in it as it went along.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Justin Long, God, he is so good at playing a creep.
He
My
was.
God.
He was. And you kind of felt sorry for him, and then he was like comic relief, and then he was just this
Asshole.
unbelievable. Yeah, I mean the presence, the true villain, really seemed to be him more than the monster type thing. The other one. So,
But that's one of the things is like you think you're watching this, and then suddenly, oh no, I'm watching this other thing, and then suddenly it's like, well, hell, where do we go now?
Right.
And you get to the end, it's like, okay.
yeah, I love that one. Anyway, we could talk about that all day. I can bring it back to a quick musical recommendation, and that's Rosalia. I just mentioned Shakira, kind of joking with you because I know you like Shakira a lot.
I love Shakira.
So that's why I wanted to say Wayne hates Shakira. But her name's Rosalia, and she's from Spain, and she had an album, I think, 2 years ago called Moda Mami, I believe. And it's so diverse and crazy. She's got she reminds me of Shakira, young Shakira, and she's got she hits like every genre, and I don't know. All I can say is just check her out if you can deal with. It's mostly Spanish. Mm-hmm. The best song on there, the one that got me in, was a song called Chicken Teriyaki, and chicken teriyaki are the only English words in the whole song. But it was just such a weird sense of humor, and then I started noticing the glitches and changes in her voice, which sort of remind me of Shakira, but she's very much her own woman. So if you're looking for a Spanish singing woman singer, then check out Rosalia for sure.
All right. Well, I want to recommend, and Adim has been all over the place. Adim the artist, been written up in the New York Times. He's living here in Knoxville, or they living here in Knoxville, and Adim is a great songwriter. Adim is a good performer, but as a songwriter, just amazing. There were first song I heard that just absolutely just blew me away is a song called Baltimore, which I'm not even sure that Adim has put on an album yet, but about a pregnant 15-year-old talking to her boyfriend about what their options are.
No.
And her plan is to go to Baltimore because she's got an aunt who lives there that might understand them. And man, Adim can make you cry. He's got a song called, I keep saying he because I knew Adim as he before Adim was they, but there's a song called Books and Records about not having any money and having to sell your books and records. And Adim did this thing during the pandemic where they went around to you could pay $10 and Adim would come to your house and sing you a song. Get out of their car and sing you a song. And I had Adim sing Books and Records during the pandemic, and it was great just having somebody in the middle of this where we couldn't see each other come and play some music for you.
Can you hear Baltimore on Spotify or something?
I think there's a version on Spotify, but Books and Records is definitely out there, and there's a great version of a song from Adim's last album, Cast Iron Pansexual, that's called, the title just went out of my head, Middle of a Heart. And it'll make you cry. It is beautiful. And it's recorded just in Adim's living room. Adim's little boy is there, and Will Wright's playing guitar, and it's great. And that's one of those things. If you hear that song and you're not touched, we're probably not going to like each other. Bringing it back.
We're going back to this way to bring it back around. Well, our recommendations then for films are both Late Night with the Devil,
for sure,
and Immaculate, the new Nun movie. And what was yours?
The Last Exorcism, which is an older film. It's at least 10, 15 years old, and it will surprise you. If you like horror movies and you like that sort of thing, you're going to be surprised. Okay, and Adim, a Knoxville artist, how do you spell that? Adim, Adeem. All right. The artist, and Adim has been written up, like I said, Rolling Stone, New York Times, all sorts of places. Okay. And needs to be checked out. And I recommend Rosalia, Rosalia, and I'm going to show you the video to Chicken Teriyaki when we get off here. Okay. All right. Are we done? I think we're done. Thanks for listening, folks. All right. Thank you, everybody.
listening to How We Heard It with Chuck Campbell and Wayne Bledsoe, a podcast about music, art, culture, movies, whatever they want to talk about. How We Heard It was recorded in Knoxville, Tennessee at the Arbor Studio by John Baker. If you believe you've been abducted by aliens during the listening to this podcast, we take no responsibility for that. How We Heard It is a Tear Owl production, and if you'd like to reach out to Chuck or Wayne, send an email to howweheardit@gmail.com. Come on back next week and we'll have another show for you.